All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Kiara O'Laughlin, and I'm a senior researcher and policy advocate with the Center on Policy Initiatives. I help convene the Community Budget Alliance, which is a coalition of over 31 community-based, faith-based, and labor organizations. For over 10 years, the CBA has pushed the City of San Diego to prioritize keeping people housed, addressing climate change, reversing systemic inequities, and ensuring that people have good jobs. The mayor's proposed budget does not meet these goals. The proposed budget adds funding to criminalize homelessness while cutting eviction prevention programs and providing minimal assistance to homelessness prevention. The city cannot continue to postpone action on housing while actively criminalizing those who fall into homelessness. We need to prioritize keeping people housed, or more San Diego residents will end up without a place to live. The mayor's proposed budget cuts youth programming, leaving youth with fewer safer places to go after school and fewer recreation opportunities. Instead of investing in youth and their future, these choices fund a system that will end up with more people ending up in the juvenile system. Our young people deserve better. Mayor Todd Gloria's decision to cut the Office of Immigrant Affairs continues to make it hard for immigrant and refugee families to fully exercise their rights. The office is critical for new San Diegans to get access to the services they need to make San Diego their home. After the catastrophic floods that we saw this year, the mayor should be putting more resources into infrastructure that addresses climate change in low-income and BIPOC communities most impacted by climate change, not cutting $8.5 million. The planet won't wait, and we need to address and mitigate the effects of climate change now. The choice to not find better solutions and confront the issues that San Diego residents face favors wealthy people, businesses, and corporations at the expense of working families and historically marginalized communities. We need a city that works for all residents, which is why we are calling on the City Council and the Mayor's Office to stand in solidarity with us and reverse the cuts to all the equity-focused programs in the Mayor's May Revise and the final budget. Thank you, and I will pass it to Barbara from ACE to talk a little bit about the impacts of the housing cuts.
Good morning. My name is Barbara Pinto, and I live in District 8 in the community of Logan Heights. I am a member of ACE, which stands for the Alliance of Californians for the Community Empowerment. I am a senior citizen, 78 years old, and I pay over 75% of my income for housing costs. I'm here today to advocate for the continued funding of the eviction prevention program. As the housing crisis worsens, it is extremely important that renters have access to legal resources and information. Through the eviction prevention program, we at ACE are able to provide free Know Your Rights workshops for renters. And during these workshops, a tenant learned about their rights, and we've connected them with free legal and financial resources. We were able to connect people with organizations like the Legal Aid Society and the community law projects that are able to help them navigate their housing issues. Thanks to the eviction prevention program, I learned about laws that helped me to stop an unfair rent increase. I also learned that if your house has 4 steps or more, your landlord is supposed to provide you with hand railings. This was after I fell from my porch, fractured my shoulder, and tore my right rotator cuff. By knowing our rights, we can protect ourselves and help other people in our community know their rights also. We have the right to know our rights. The laws are always changing, and these Know Your Rights workshops help to keep members up to date on the current protections that we do have. Knowing your rights can help keep families together, stabilize homes and communities. We need to do all and everything that we can to prevent more people from becoming homeless, and the eviction prevention program will aid in this effort. We are advocating for everyone who is at risk of losing their housing. Please keep the funding in the eviction prevention program and let our work together with the betterment of all of San Diego residents. Thank you. I would now like to introduce Victor Ponte. He's with the Mid-City CAN. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Victor Ponce, and I'm the lead organizer at Mid-City CAN, where I work directly with our youth council. The Climate Equity Fund was established in 2021 to address the disproportionate impact of climate change on our most vulnerable communities. It was a promise to our residents of these communities that we would prioritize the well-being and mitigate climate change. But now, during the city's first times of hardships, the mayor is looking to take back the very little funding guaranteed to our communities. The cuts to the Climate Equity Fund are a betrayal of the trust that has been placed on the city. It is a slap in the face to residents who has been most affected by climate change, who have been fighting for their rights and futures, and who have been counting on the city to act. Our residents can't wait, and we hope that we can't wait on the next proposed November tax measure to pass to get these funds back. Even if it does pass, we can't even guarantee that those funds do come into the city. If they do come into the city, that we will stand and instead be mismanage them and allocate them elsewhere. I want to be clear, this is not just about the Climate Equity Fund. This is about the deep-rooted historical systematic inequities that have been a part of the city and country's history. It is about the fact that our city has been prioritizing the interests of a very few wealthy and powerful over the needs of the most vulnerable, standing here today behind me. It doesn't have to be this way. We can do better. We must do better. We owe it to our residents, we owe it to our children, and we owe it to our future to make this change now. That's why I'm calling the mayor and the city council to reverse the cuts to the Climate Equity Fund and prioritize the needs of our most vulnerable communities. We need to invest in programs and services that will help our residents adapt to climate change, that will help our residents thrive, and that will help our city become a more just and equitable place. We need to work together to build a city that is just and equitable for all. We need to work together to create a city that is resilient and sustainable. We need to work together to create a city that is worthy of our highest aspirations. Let us work together to build a city that is just as equitable for all of us. Thank you. And next, I'd like to introduce Ricky Weaver from Pillars of the Community.
Hello, my name is Ricky Weaver. I was one of the ones that was helped setting up the drop-in centers in Southeast San Diego. And what me and my team, we want to empower our community, inspire our community, employ our community. The way to these goals is to have these drop-in centers in place to give them the youngsters a place to go where everyone know their name, their shame, and we can communicate with them because we share the same experiences, the same doubts, the same fears. I grew up in this community over there off of 30th and Imperial. So I'm all in to help change the narrative. I won't say I'm an ex-gang member, I'm a former gang member. I still communicate with my community. And these here drop-in centers will help us a lot in getting through to these youth, helping them find somewhere, find something, because right now, they just floating around. A lot of this stuff comes from gang violence, come from them not having the old programs when they had boys clubs, when they had girls clubs. In those clubs, they had mentors. So let's bring it back. We're mentors because we been through what they're about to face. We've been through the prisons, the jails, we've been through all of them. The law changes, we've been through all of them. So our team need these drop-in centers. Todd Gloria cut that money when the city council had approved it for us. So I'm just saying, hey Todd, come on man. We need this help. San Diego PD is not stopping this gang violence. You looking at one of the ones that's boots on the ground, and we the ones that see this and deal with this and go through this here every day. Todd Gloria, you're not stopping it. You're not the reason that the gang violence is down. We are. I'm telling you, we are. And we can prove it. Thank you. And I would like to introduce the next person, Sam Tosi, Alliance of San Diego.
Thank you, Rick. Thank you, bro. Good morning, everyone. My name is Samuel Choi with Alliance San Diego. I came over here right after dropping off my kids and told them I would come into City Hall. And they're like, what's City Hall? I told them what it is. And then I told them that I'm going to talk about how the mayor is going to cut the Office of Immigrant Affairs. And they said, Daddy, that sounds bad. So I'm going to here to explain to your adults in the room why that's bad. 6 years ago, right here in Golden Hall, Alliance San Diego and the San Diego Immigrant Rights Consortium joined a cross-sector and cross-ideological coalition along with hundreds of community members to kick off the Welcoming San Diego strategic planning process. Building on a long history of welcoming newcomers, these community conversations across the city that year resulted in robust data and compelling stories on how immigrants are contributing to a local economy and culture. That process also produced a comprehensive plan to institutionalize and expand the work of immigrant inclusion across key institutions, which led to the creation of the city's Office of Immigrant Affairs. Fast forward to today, the political environment on the national level has only become more xenophobic, and the dignity and rights of migrants are threatened every day. Longtime immigrant residents are living with higher levels of stress and fear, and this is exactly when local government, especially San Diego, being the largest city in the border region, should be on the front line of defending the rights of migrants and making sure immigrants, refugees, asylum seekers have the opportunity to achieve the California dream. The city's Office of Immigrant Affairs was entrusted by the community to lead the process of implementing the Welcoming San Diego plan. And many of those goals are yet to be achieved. As stated by many times here today by many advocates, the budget is a moral document, and the value of hospitality is baked into the character of our city. So instead of the mayor's cynical and irresponsible attempt to defund the Office of Immigrant Affairs, we joined the Community Budget Alliance to call upon City Council to listen to the constituents who will be most impacted by the mayor's budget cuts and equitably allocate our public dollars. We call upon the city to further invest in the Office of Immigrant Affairs to improve language access, especially when the numbers of languages of new arrivals have increased and many immigrant households have suffered from the recent floods and will continue to be more vulnerable to climate change. We call on the city to invest in the Office of Immigrant Affairs to grow our economy because immigrants are more entrepreneurial and a tremendous boost to our workforce. And finally, we call on the city to fully fund the Office of Immigrant Affairs because we all deserve dignity and opportunity, and we all belong. I'd like to introduce our newest council member, but actually the most seasoned advocate for our communities, Henry Foster.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone for sharing your comments. Thank you to the Community Budget Alliance, all of the partnering organizations, as this is really the important work that we do every day here at City Hall. It takes a lot to be vulnerable and to share one's realities and impacts. And we've heard families come down this past week and express those concerns and those impacts. I've shared my concerns with this budget on the onset, the proposed budget by Mayor Todd Gloria. And my thoughts and concerns have not changed after going through a week-long budget hearing process. This budget fails to meet the essential needs of all of our residents, specifically districts 4, 8, and 9. The City of San Diego Equity Forward website defines the word equity as something that occurs when we eliminate institutional racism and systemic disparities, providing everyone with equitable access to opportunity and resources to thrive, no matter where they live or how they identify. This budget does not provide equitable access to opportunity. It does the opposite. By cutting the funding that helps to reduce violence, connecting residents to housing assistance, it cuts the digital divide, which directly impacts our youth's ability to learn. We have seen the effects of institutional racism firsthand with the pandemic. While the world was in great deal of pain, under-resourced neighborhoods struggling to get access to health care, food, and essential resources pulled together and advocated for basic resources that they needed to survive. Now we have seen it again with the recent floods of January 22nd. We cannot and must not forget our path and journey. We cannot forget our ability as a community to rally together and to hold the mayor and the city of San Diego accountable. He must present a budget that represents all of us. Equity should not be labeled as a symbol of discretionary spending. Equity is not an option. It's a framework that should be woven into how we allocate resources and funding to ensure that everyone has what they need to thrive. I will remind the mayor of just that as we prepare for the May revise, that this budget must serve all of us. Some will tell us to wait. Some will tell us that change will come. Some will tell us to be patient. But it's my experience that if you wait, you may miss out on funds and opportunities. Our community simply can't afford to wait any longer because freedom is rarely voluntarily given. It must be demanded. Therefore, we must continue to push and fight for these cuts to be restored in the budget. And I'm committed to working with my colleagues and the mayor on accomplishing just that. I'm not only calling on my colleagues of District 4, 8, and 9. I'm calling on the entire council to be a strong council, to stand with us, to stand with the community, to do what's right, to restore the things that we have fought for over the past 5 years, the things that communities have fought for decades. For over 30 years, communities have wanted to have rec centers, have wanted to have access to Wi-Fi, wanted sidewalks, wanted their streets paved. Nothing here that we are discussing today is new, but the time is now, and I call on all of my colleagues to stand together in solidarity, to be a strong council, and to do what's right. With that, I will now introduce my colleague, Council Member Vivian Moreno.
Thank you, Councilmember Foster, and thank you all for being here today. The mayor's proposed fiscal year 2025 budget is disturbingly imbalanced. I have concerns about the cuts being proposed, as well as items that have simply not been funded. The more I look at this budget, the more it's become very clear to me that it's being balanced on the backs of San Diegans' most vulnerable communities. On one hand, there are unacceptable cuts like free Wi-Fi at our rec centers, library programming cuts, after school hour and teen center programming cuts. These cuts hurt kids in underserved communities. They hurt neighborhoods that I represent in District 8. Neighborhoods like San Isidro and Nestor, Sherman Heights and Barrio Logan, Logan Heights and Southcrest. They will suffer if these programs are cut. These are programs that our families rely on, services that our families and our children and our students rely on. The mayor's proposed budget also cuts ACCF and CPPS funding that support visual and performing arts nonprofits that bring concerts and plays into underserved communities. The mayor is asking the community and the council to accept cuts to vital programming in libraries and rec centers. And then with the same stroke of the pen, he funds things like new park ranger positions, 8 park ranger positions being added north of the 8, upper management. And then there's a proposal to make significant investment in leasing a new facility at Kettner and Vine that I have serious concerns with. All of this on the back of my kids, on the back of District 8, District 4, District 9's kids. This is what he is proposing. Asking us, where are we gonna find the money? I found the money, it's right there. Cutting community programming is unacceptable, and I will be working my hardest to ensure that programs that so many families rely on at our parks and libraries are preserved. What we prioritize in our budget defines what our values are in the city. And what I value is making sure that the city provides a high quality of life for all of San Diegans. Access to parks, access to libraries, the arts programming and services. So I call and I demand the mayor to revise this budget to allow these critical programs that our families rely on to remain in place so that we can continue to provide all San Diegans with services that we very much need. Thank you, and that concludes my comments. And at this time, I'd like to invite our council president and my friend, Sean Elo Rivera, to the podium.
Thank you, Councilmember Moreno. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Thank you all for being here today. Many of the folks who are behind me right now have been at the budget hearings this past week to advocate for their communities. And it's no secret that this is a tough budget year. But here's the thing with tough times. They help clarify what is really important, what really matters, who really matters, and they help show who people really are. The folks behind me have done an incredible job of advocating, and your work has been essential to this process. I so appreciate your efforts in helping the mayor and the council understand what's the most important. And the takeaway that I have is this: people are what matter most. And we cannot allow the most neglected people and underinvested in communities to bear the brunt of our budget cuts. And we're talking about the people on our streets, we're talking about our elders, we're talking about our youth, and we're talking about the 1,600 plus San Diegans who woke up in hotel rooms this morning because they were displaced by floods. These residents who have had the least support from their city are the ones who need it most. And that advocacy that you all are doing is making a difference. Here's the good news. Thanks to your advocacy and the sharing of stories like Ms. Pinto's, Mayor Gloria and his team have announced that they are restoring some proposed cuts, including the eviction prevention program, because you have a right to know your rights, the housing instability prevention program, which keeps people in their homes, and the multidisciplinary outreach team, which quite literally serves the sickest and most vulnerable people on our streets. But we're not there yet. Climate equity, digital equity, cannabis equity, homelessness services, libraries, rec center programs, youth support, all of which we fought so hard to get into the budgets of the past, are now being proposed to be cut. And we want those programs back. We want climate equity back. We want digital equity back. We want cannabis equity back. We want our homelessness services back. We want our libraries back. We want our rec center programs back. And we want youth support back. And we want those things back because of the people that they serve. I understand that this is that there's a budget deficit and this is a tough time. But again, during tough times, we can have things clarified. And I think we have two choices in front of us as a city. Are we going to be a city for everyone or a city for someone, for just some people? Is this going to be a city where everyone has the opportunity to grow up with opportunity and age with dignity? Or is it going to be a city where the rich get richer and the comfortable get more comfortable on the backs of the people who can least withstand the impacts? I think we are better than choosing the latter. I choose the former. I choose people. The people behind me choose people. And I am confident that we're going to win back the cuts that have been proposed in this budget. We going to win those back? Yes. All of them, right? Yes. Every damn one. We can do better than this. We will do better than this. Thank you, everyone. Individuals will be available for questions. Thank you.